Welcome to episode 239 of Empty the Bench on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. He's Tom Albano. I'm Nick Morgasen. Follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at ETB Sports. Follow the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at ETB Network. Follow our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. Slowly approaching 800 subscribers, so make sure you please like and subscribe. Follow our website, etbpodcast.com, for all the latest blogs and information as we take you through the dog days of summer. A lot of baseball, a lot of NBA free agency, NFL and college football will be on the way soon. So make sure you check that out as well. And if you can't watch us, please listen to us wherever you get your podcast. So Spotify, Apple, and everything else under the sun. We are on those podcast platforms, so please go listen. And as I heard on your show, MMA Outsiders YouTube Premium for the audio side also as well, which I didn't know, by the way. So I learned something new in general. Also,
you're willing to pay the price for it.
That's right. You're right. So if you're looking for a premium feature to listen to audio, YouTube Premium. Also, this show and the whole network presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience, from playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. And we will be doing some content on there starting in July. We're working towards a ETB Network rundown, like 30 to 40 minutes, looking about once a week now, probably in the Tuesday range, somewhere in there. If you ever watched Barstool, they do something called the rundown. We're going to do a little bit of our own twist on that. Whatever's trending stories for the Tuesday, we'll set up a rotating schedule. That's kind of where we're looking. And then whatever comes next, which will probably be baseball on Playback, that'll probably be our next sport that we do on the Playback stream. So make sure, like I said, playback.tv/ETB Network. You can find us on that platform. All right. We got a lot to get into, and the curse of this show, once again, with breaking news, just totally defies the whole plan that we had for this show. And I'm going to tell you right now, my head is absolutely going to explode in a million pieces this story.
It's going to explode within a million pieces for several of the stories here, because we will talk about the trade explosion that did happen on Tuesday. We will talk about what was originally supposed to be our head story, and that is a new head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers with JJ Redick. Another big trade going down involving the Bulls and the Thunder. A 1-for-1 swap of Alex Caruso and Josh Giddey. We'll talk about the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers, that Game 7, which was absolutely awesome, going down to the wire.
I did watch.
You did watch?
Yes.
Nice. We will talk about this kind of a story that we kind of missed last week. Well, we had too much content last week anyway. Pat Hoberg, MLB umpire, suspended for violating league gambling rules. So it's another baseball suspension involving gambling. And then Ryan Garcia, who I just...
By the way, right now. I just wanted on the record that I'm the one who wanted to do this story.
You did.
Which is rare, because I'm probably as UFC illiterate on this network as possible, but I just find it fascinating.
Did you say illiterate or literate?
Illiterate, I meant. Yes, I'm as illiterate with UFC as possible on this network, as I continue to learn with all the shows we have now that cover it. But he just fascinates me.
But there is one big story that we have to talk about involving the two basketball teams here in the tri-state area, the two teams that we have a big focus on, and that is the New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets. Specifically, that the Villanova Knicks are now complete. Mikal Bridges is now officially a New York Knick, as the Nets The Nets and Knicks made a blockbuster trade on Tuesday night with the Nets trading Mikal Bridges to the Knicks in exchange for Bojan Bogdanovic and 5 first-round picks. 4 of them are Knick property. One of them is a Milwaukee first-round pick that the Knicks acquired in a previous trade. They also have the right, the Nets, to swap picks within 2028. But, as we say on the TV, but wait, there's more! The Nets then traded a whole bunch of picks with the Rockets.
All right, hold on, because we got to do this in parts, because...
Yeah. Oh, no, there's still another banner. There's still another part to this.
Yeah, but I have to give you some context and timeline to this. So I was producing another show while this was going on. And
Tough Enough going on when this was going on.
We had Tough Enough was going on. I was producing our brand new show, Puncher's Chance, which actually
premiered last night.
It premiered last night. And all of a sudden, our Twitter, our ETB Sports Twitter feed gets bombarded with Woj and Shams tweets all over the place. Mostly Woj, because those are the ones I see first. Because I feel like Woj, and this is no knock to Shams, but I feel like Woj gives more context to a trade sometimes.
Well, this was originally a Woj bomb.
But I just feel like Woj gives better contextual information in a tweet.
Well, Woj did point out something about this trade and why it kind of went down. And the reason for that was because the Nets were actually trying to get out in front of the news. Because, yes, a trade that actually tried to get out in front of the news, because as it turned out in later reports, not a few minutes after the trade news came out, Mikal Bridges and his agent were prepared to go to the Nets to formally request a trade to the Knicks, and were basically willing to do. They were basically going to force it to only the Knicks.
You know what? And I'll give my opinion about this first, and I want to propose a new rule for the NBA when it comes to these demands, because I'm getting tired of. Well, I don't like my situation, so I'm demanding to go to one team. Like, I'm getting tired of that too. But this trade, when it first hit me on social media, I said, and I think Evan Roberts said it well too, because he said, "What the F?" when this trade broke down. That was my same reaction. What the fuck just happened? Why are we trading our best player?
Well, that was my first question. My first question was, is this indicates, are the Nets tearing it down?
They're tanking.
That's what's going on. They're tearing it down.
This is a full tank. I'm calling it right now. Full tank right now.
And I mean, I think, Nick, this is a deal where, if I'm honest with you, I think the two of us both, I mean, am I happy to have Mikal Bridges? Yes.
You should be. He's a really good player.
But 5 first-round picks?
Well, okay, so I'll give you some context on this. I was talking to Nick D about this just because he was asking me about it. I think the Knicks, because it's crosstown rival, had to pay more to get the trade to go down.
I understand, but I'm also going to tell you that at the same time, let's play. I know we talk fallacy of a predetermined outcome. But
if you're asking, it's an overpay. It is.
It is an overpay. But the thing that kills it, sometimes I'm not mad about an overpay. But let's put in some context, or let's put in a little situation here. Even though fallacy of a predetermined outcome, do I think a New York Knicks team with Mikal Bridges and was healthy, not having the injuries, could they have beaten the Pacers in Game 7? Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think the acquisition of Mikal Bridges alone makes them a better team than the Boston Celtics. I think I think the Knicks are still a second fiddle in the Eastern Conference, even with this trade.
Okay, it's interesting you brought that up, because Woj actually put out another tweet for all of the movement that went down that the Knicks made, and I'm trying to find it because I'm on his Twitter feed. But basically the context, excuse me, was that they're making these moves and doing all this movement because they claim that they're being competitive with the Boston Celtics.
Well, I was going to ask, or I was going to ask, so is this then, this is an all-in move?
I mean, to them, it's an all-in move. Now, I went and I did some research on the amount of picks that they
Mhm.
had. They had 8 first-round picks through 2031. So they obviously had draft capital.
They
But
have 2 picks in the draft in this year.
yes. But overall, up through 2031, they had 8
Right.
first-round picks.
I forget there was one year we didn't have a first round pick because we had 2 this year, but
Correct.
you're right.
So, but here's my problem. You're going to spend 5 picks on Mikal Bridges when, depending on, like, you could have had a Donovan Mitchell in free agency. Not saying that they're the same position or comparable, but why don't you just go spend the money?
Well, that was going to be my next question. Is this just because we've talked about it, Nick, a couple of weeks ago? Actually, I think we talked about when the Knicks got eliminated. We said, has New York gotten any of this rust off of, hey, no stars are going to come here because this is the James Dolan team? And we said, we actually did say, yes, quite a bit of it, but not all of it. So I'm wondering if this is just the next step in that, okay, after this year, if the Knicks can continue to be, a team that's towards the top of the Eastern Conference, if the Knicks can continue to be, can finally reach the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since the run in '99, is this going to be that? Will that be enough then that next off season they finally land a 1A or 1AA free agent?
I mean, does this make them better? It does. But at the same time, OG Anunoby's a free agent.
Well, I was going to be my next question. Does this trade to you signify they're not going to re-sign OG?
Actually, I would say it signifies that they don't sign Hartenstein. Because how do they sign Hartenstein now that they're
not going to?
Because
You're giving at least you're giving at least one of them up at this point.
Well, and it's not even because of spots. It's because Hardenstein is clamoring for $20 million a year, which you're not going to give.
Now that you have Mikal Bridges, you're not paying that.
So someone is going to overpay Hartenstein in the market. So he's gone. OG Anunoby, I have like a love-hate relationship with that roster with him. Is he a really good player? Yes. Is he worth a max contract, whatever the max is for the position and all that stuff? Absolutely not.
But do the Knicks have a choice in that regard?
Well, any team has a choice. If they really want to sign somebody.
I guess the question is, do you see anybody out there in free agency that the Knicks would be capable of signing that would be better, an upgrade over OG?
Not figuratively. I mean, I would say if they really want to fill a spot, they go get Klay Thompson. I mean, if they really wanted to. But I don't think they want to spend that type of money.
I was going to say, my thoughts on Klay, though.
Right. And I also think the Warriors are being idiots at the same time. But
well, we do have the Warriors now in potential talks with Paul George.
Trust me, I haven't even gotten to that yet because I read those reports also. But
I should give some context, by the way. I should have done that at the start here. So we're recording this. The time we're recording this, the NBA draft has not started yet. So
we're way before the NBA draft.
Yeah. So anything with NBA draft, anything with free agency, we will discuss more in full next week when everything has wrapped up.
Trust me, I'll react plenty depending on where Bronny drops in this draft at some point.
Well, let's talk about the Nets end of things then.
Right. So I'm not happy. Full context, I've been a Net fan. I
don't blame you.
I've been a Net fan since the Jason Kidd, Richard Jefferson, Vince Carter days, which is like early 2000s. I've been an NBA fan for a long time.
I was going to say, that stretches to what? You were 8, 10 years old, somewhere around that?
Yeah. And I don't understand this, to be honest. Joe Tsai, who I actually like as an owner, really turned the team around, who took it away from Mikhail Prokhorov, who was a terrible owner for the Nets. And completely almost burned the team into the ground. And went to Psyche. I said, okay. And I think he also took over ownership of the Liberty also.
Yes.
So I said, oh, this is going to be great. Then they make all the moves. They get Durant. They get Kyrie Irving. Oh, I said, oh, they're going to turn it around. Complete dumpster fire. That gets turned on its head. They manage to somehow escape by getting a trade to the Suns and getting back record depth in return for Kevin Durant.
And if I'm not mistaken, that playoffs, they ended up in the playoffs.
And they were one footstep between a 2 and a 3 away from going to the NBA Finals from Kevin Durant's shot. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, fallacy, predetermined outcome. You don't know the outcome, but...
Right. But, like, even when they were tearing everything down, if you remember, like, they had sent Kyrie over to Dallas, and the Nets still made the playoffs in that season.
And I don't think they really got much for Kyrie anyway. I think it was just a throwaway, really, to be honest, for money.
My point being, look, I know this season, and I guess this is where you're going to have your frustration. I know the season did not go as planned, but you had Mikal Bridges kind of as the centerpiece of this team to build around, and now
I was ecstatic.
You were basically hitting reset now.
Right, but I was ecstatic when I heard we got Mikal Bridges. Like, he was a really good player for the Suns.
No, that's my point, is that you got Mikal Bridges, you were ecstatic. It looked like he was going to be the centerpiece that everything was going to be built around. And now what did the Nets just do? They went up to their game console and they hit reset.
Now, but here's the problem, though. Part of what you said earlier, which is that he was going to go and demand a trade anyway. The reverse to that, I would say, is why didn't you convince him that the Nets were a good place to build and be the cornerstone piece? That's what I don't understand here. You ship him away. Basically, the Nets are pulling a Utah Jazz right now. Where, oh God, who's the GM? The former Celtic, Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge, who's now the GM of the Jazz, is basically stocking draft room capital. And not... So when he traded Donovan Mitchell, he traded Rudy Gobert and got like 12 draft picks and is doing nothing with it, really, now. The Nets are doing the same thing. Let's just keep the draft capital. Draft picks, there's really only two things you can do with it. Either you have to be in the lottery and you get a high pick, or you have to trade it and get somebody to come to New York, Brooklyn to play.
So, but based on that argument, then, Nick, so you say I shouldn't be too upset about the overpay of 5 first-round picks?
No, because I knew right away that to get a deal done with the Nets, they were going to have to overpay. Because not to make a horrible joke, but Bridges, they basically traded over a bridge.
Oh, God, that was bad.
But I'm just saying it was an over-the-bridge trade, essentially what I'm talking about here.
I know.
Oh, I thought you were going to play the other one. But, okay.
What?
No, the Price is Right horn. But... but...
I'll give myself that one.
It was bound to happen at some point. But now there's another wrinkle to this. Because, I see this part break, and I said, okay, it can't get any worse. And it gets worse!
That the Nets and Rockets have formally swapped picks.
So go to banner number 2, because this is where all shit breaks loose.
Okay, so the Nets and the Rockets end up making their own draft pick trade. I want to see if I can...
Well, I have to explain it, because most people are not going to understand it.
I think I can read off the...
I have the Woj tweet here.
Okay, so the Brooklyn Nets acquired, listen to this, their 2025 first-round draft pick, negating a previously agreed to swap.
The Harden trade.
From the James Harden trade. And their first-round pick in 2026 from the Houston Rockets. In exchange for... I need to wait for the rest of this tweet to load because my whole thing disappeared on me. In exchange for a 2025 first-round pick swap, Houston, Oklahoma City for Phoenix. The Phoenix Suns' 2027 first-round pick, and the rights to the 2 most favorable of the Dallas, Phoenix, and Houston first-round picks in 2029. Brooklyn retains the least favorable of Dallas, Houston, and Phoenix's first-round draft picks in 2029.
They basically all swapped draft spaces for different years.
I was going to say, did you get all that?
Yeah.
I guess not. The reason that this was done, I know the context we're going here. The reason this was done was not on the Nets end. No, it was on the Rockets end. Because the Rockets then were going to use these draft picks, according to Woj, to try to talk to the Suns and convince them to give them Kevin Durant.
What the f***?
I mean, I see this news breaking that Woj is claiming that the Rockets want to go after Kevin Durant. And I was like, do you realize who you want to bring to this team?
First of all, Nick, maybe this is just me. I don't think the Rockets are in position to acquire anybody like a Kevin Durant.
Well, if they have all the draft capital, they could acquire anybody they want.
Fair enough, but I don't think the Rockets were that team that I was expecting to get a 1A star like a Durant.
I'm trying to think, and I have to pull up their roster because I don't have it in front of me at the moment. But the only guy that's on the roster is Fred VanVleet, who they overpaid last offseason.
I like Fred VanVleet, but it's clear that Fred VanVleet is not a 1.
Let me look at the 23-24 roster to see who's even on it. Oh, yeah, Dylan Brooks, the guy who hates everybody.
Oh, wait a minute. Dylan Brooks is on this team? You mean he didn't go to the Guangdong Tigers?
Guangdong Tigers. Ni hao! Ni hao! Ni hao!
Steven Adams, who got hurt. Jalen Green, who's a young star. Jeff Green. Let's see. I don't really know most of these players. Fred VanVleet. Cam Whitmore. It's really a subpar team.
I get what the upgrade that Kevin Durant would do,
but he's not a leader.
Yeah, you're going to the point that we're going to, that we both share this opinion that KD is just, look, he is a 1A player, but he's not going to be the kind to lead a team to a championship.
Actually, you know what? I refuse to even call him a 1A player.
Oh, God.
How can you be a 1A player if you're not a leader? 1A quality to me involves not just talent, but being a leader and being able to handle yourself on the court for your whole team. He can't do it.
And you think Durant causes too many headaches to be a 1A?
Yes, to be a leader. And Nick D, who I was having a long conversation yesterday, where he also said, well, if KD is not a leader, then James Harden, Russell Westbrook, all these guys who claim to be the leaders of their teams, which ironically both in Houston at one time.
Nick, ironically, all three were in Oklahoma City at one time. They made the finals in Oklahoma City.
I'm aware. That was when they were really young. They were babies when that was a thing.
They were taking on the big three and the LeBron and the Heat.
Which is kind of crazy if you think about that. But
now, to full context, it sounds like all of this talk is going to just end up being balderdash because, according to Woj, the Suns are fully intending that they're going to run it back.
I don't buy that 100%, to be honest with you, because I'm reading reports that they are having discussions with each other. And I believe that they are having discussions with each other. Now,
oh my God.
All teams can have discussions with each other. The teams do that every single day. But Kevin Durant is never happy where he is. Let's just be real about that. How many teams have we been on now? So we started in OKC. Then we went to Golden State. Then we went to the Nets. Now we're on Phoenix. And now we might end up in Houston. Like, first of all teams, Houston? Unless that's Houston calling a bluff, saying that they have all this trade capital and they're willing to trade for him. Maybe Kevin Durant doesn't even want to go there.
I mean, like I said, it's not even a matter of KD isn't going to do anything for Houston, because he will. You know, with the kind of player that he is on the court, I emphasize on the court, maybe not off the court, he will. But Kevin Durant, Nick, the players that you named off, Kevin Durant alone is not going to carry that team towards a championship. He's not going to carry that team towards a conference final.
Hell no, he's not going to carry him. He'll barely carry that team to the playoffs. He can't even stay on the court, let alone play.
You're not doing a LeBron James Cleveland Cavalier style. Put the team on my back.
No, Kevin Durant doesn't have that ability. I would even say LeBron at age 39, I would trust more than Kevin Durant now.
I would too.
And I know that's a wacko and insane statement to make, but as much as I hate LeBron, I will take LeBron to carry a team at 39 years old over Kevin Durant.
Think about this. Think about how banged up and battered and everything that the Lakers were this season. They still made it into the first round of the playoffs.
Did they win the play-in? I can't even remember.
Yeah, they won the play-in.
Beat Golden State, right?
Yeah.
So at least they won a game.
Yeah.
I mean, and Phoenix got destroyed. Like, and everyone said, "Oh, well, Phoenix is going to make a long run into the playoffs of the Big Three." That's not a Big Three. It's like a Big One.
Well, we talked about that. We talked about the Big Three that the Suns have, and we're like, that's
it's mediocre.
Yeah, the Big Three of the Suns just isn't going to do anything. The fact that Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, like it's good. It's good talent, but I don't know if that would necessarily, they had their opportunity in, what was it, 2021?
Yeah.
When they faced the Bucks. And in classic fashion with some of the guys that they had on that roster, like CP3, they fell short.
I just want to point out something again with the payrolls, because that's the big issue in the NBA. So 2023-24, the number was 136 million. They were at 191. They were 50, if my math is right, 54 or 55 million over. They are going to be another 15 plus over that. So they're going to be 70 million over the cap by the time.
$70 million. Jeez.
And by the way, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker make up 150 million of that. Just the three of them. Think about that. That's
not sustainable.
That's over the cap, those three players.
I just said, it's great to have that talent, but I don't know if that's sustainable.
But that basically means after those three players, they're paying penalties on everybody else.
Yep.
Which part of that has to do with, I think the NBA should really not be a salary cap sport anymore, in my opinion.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's just funny. We talk about, does baseball need a salary cap? You say NBA doesn't need a cap.
Because I feel like, one, I think NBA is more marketable. They can generate more marketing dollars to sustain the amount of money that these guys are making. I guarantee you and I heard a wild rumor that the Lakers are getting ready to offer LeBron 3 years, 160 million at 39 years old.
Oh my God.
And if that happens, I think
he's staying in LA then.
Well, of course he's staying in LA. He's not getting it anywhere else. But I don't know what happens with the whole Bronny situation, because I heard on the radio over the last couple of days, including yesterday, that is there going to be a asshole in the bunch that's going to try and draft him?
Okay, let's hold that thought, because it's going to kind of connect with a topic.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, topic, because I did bring it up before. Like I said, we'll go more in depth on NBA free agency next week after everything happens, but this one's also kind of developing as we're recording. I just mentioned before, the Warriors are supposedly eyeing Paul George, potentially giving him a 4-year deal. Just quickly, your thoughts on it. I think they're crazy.
I don't understand the connection, number one. Why they would want Paul George. Paul George has been a headache. Besides the Pacers, throw the Pacers away, because he actually had a decent career with the Pacers.
Well, I'm going to tell you what it is, Nick, because we talked about it before on Playback during the NBA playoff watch-alongs. We talked about this Warriors team. We watched it. We watched the Warriors get eliminated. We kind of lamented, after the last decade plus of their great runs, we were coming now at this point to the end of the road, and they were trying everything the last few years, to keep everybody together, keep this popular. And it just wasn't working out. Klay Thompson's going to be the first piece to go after.
We think.
We think. And it seems like Paul, hey, we're not done. We lost Clay. Here's Paul George. We're still okay.
Well, okay,
It's
so I
like,
have
it's gonna be you know what it is? It's gonna be like that Homer Simpson and Marge meme, where at the front you see Homer, all smiling at me, and you look at the back and it's just everything's just glued on and sticking together barely.
well, I have two thoughts. One, I think Joe Lacob and the Warriors ownership is hypocritical because you gave Draymond all that money. You gave him $100 million. And Draymond's been a headache ever since he signed that contract, been suspended for like a good chunk of the season for kicking Yursev of the Suns.
Yursev, the pool incident.
I guarantee you, if the Warriors could have that back and say, could I have a mulligan and do that over? They would do that over. Big time. But what doesn't make any sense, if you're going to say that Klay Thompson is a business decision, that makes no sense. Then Draymond should have been a business decision on top of it. Because, in my opinion, Klay can do more than what Draymond does. The reason Draymond is still here is because of the bulldog defensive attribute that he brings. But he's not scoring.
No. But the sad part is Draymond is doing more than Klay. Klay just this last year with the Warriors was just it was hard to watch.
It was, that's why they put him in the second unit off the bench, because he just could not put up the numbers necessary to stay in the starting lineup.
He wasn't the kind of contributor that he's been.
But to say that Draymond is more valuable than him, I just don't know if I believe that 100%.
Well, again, the reason I think all of this is happening, Nick, is because eventually the Warriors are, you know what? Maybe it happens this season that the Warriors are going to move over to Egypt because they're in denial.
Ow.
Thank you, everybody.
What I was going to say is, this is a comparison you probably wouldn't have thought coming out of my mouth, but Paul George is Klay Thompson.
What?
Now, listen to me, because my theory of this is Klay Thompson had a really good career, won some championships. Now, that's the difference between Paul George and Klay Thompson. But what happened to Klay Thompson over time? He deteriorated.
Yeah.
Paul George started off, had a really good career. What's happening to Paul George now? He's deteriorating. Same trajectory, except Klay has the championship.
So this is the case of, it's basically now two sides who are kind of like, oh, no, everything is fine. Look, we're going to team up and we'll show you. Both of us, the Warriors and Paul George, we're all fine. Everything's okay.
It's not. I want to pull up the Warriors cap just because I'm curious on that front too and see what I could find. Oh, all right. Give me a second. I'm looking that up. But the same thing with Paul George. This makes 0.0% does not make sense. What does Paul George bring to this roster that they need? They don't. And that means you're pushing back Kuminga. You're pushing back all those guys, those young guys, from getting minutes. Do you really want to do that?
Probably not. I'm trying to bring up the.
I got the payroll.
Okay.
So
Spotrack's website is very slow as we're recording.
I found it on Basketball Reference. So again, $136 million was the 23-24 salary cap. They were $70 million over it in 23.
Yeah.
They were more over it than the Suns.
Right now, I have the 24-25 cap table on Spotrack.
It's lower.
Their total cap, it says $249 million. First apron space, 2,000. Second apron space, 13,000. Cap space, it has minus $108 million.
Okay, I don't have it broken down that way, but so they have $206 million. That was this past season, $70 million over. Next season, they're actually down, according to this, by $32 million. And I'm assuming that's probably partially Klay's number.
Right, yeah.
And my guess is that Klay is probably demanding some ridiculous number Probably. Because we're the Warriors. We won. We're symmetry.
But you know what the sick part is? Someone's going to overpay for him.
I will tell you right now, if Clay is not back, the fans are going to riot. They will.
You really think so?
Yes, because Clay is the straight man, as one of our former co-hosts used to say. He fits in. He doesn't cause trouble. Him and Steph, what was their title? Splash Brothers.
Yeah.
That was the big part of the dynasty. Fans hold on to what they know best.
Fair enough. You're right.
So this is not an upgrade. This is like a stunt double replacement, Paul George. So you're not improving. You're putting, what is it? You're putting a Band-Aid on a bad situation.
Fair enough. All right. Let's go back over to the Lakers. Let's go back to that comment that you made about, what could happen if LeBron is there and potentially with Bronny's there. Like I said, we're recording this before the NBA draft even officially begins. I know Bronny is at this point projected to be a second round pick. So if that were to hold up, he would be drafted at some point tonight, because tonight, the night that this is airing, Nick, is round 2. But let's go to the Lakers. Let's talk about it. So JJ Redick. So the Lakers had made that attempt for Dan Hurley. It didn't go well. So now it goes back to the original proceed planned, and that JJ Redick is being brought on as the new Lakers head coach. I'll just basically, Nick, repeat everything. You're Mr. NBA, so I'll repeat everything that I said in the breaking news video that I put out on our social medias and here on YouTube. I mean, should I be shocked? Not really, given all that's been talked about. I know Stephen A had made the comment about, hey, he has the coaching itch, but it brings up 2 questions. One, which you and I have talked about, why are you leaving a cushy job being a commentator over at ESPN to take a head coaching job where everything, especially in a league like the NBA, where you just kind of talked about with the Mikal Bridges news, that everything is player driven. So everything is turbulent. You have very little job security. Everything can shift on a dime. And number 2, especially in regards to that, going to a Lakers team where you got AD, if LeBron is there, and especially more so if LeBron and Bronny are both there, JJ Redick, I mean, Nick, you know what JJ Redick is going to be? JJ Redick is going to be like the sock, because you know what you can do with a sock? You know where this is going.
Oh, God. Yes. Yes. The word that I think you're looking for is nepotism. Between
Can
LeBron.
you spell nepotism?
Not off the top of my head. I'm a good speller too. But yeah, you're looking for the word nepotism because JJ and LeBron obviously were doing a podcast. I don't know if they'll be allowed to do that podcast anymore now.
You think they'll be allowed?
No, I'm saying I don't know.
If that is allowed, if that is somehow allowed, that is just going to be the biggest face palm.
There are current players that do podcasts.
A head coach and a player, that's the biggest insult. That's the biggest insult to conflict of interest as there could be.
You really think they're going to tell LeBron what he can and can't do?
But let me play devil's advocate. You don't, because I was going where I was going with it. You don't think if the Lakers go in the direction that they're going, everything falls apart, LeBron wouldn't be the first to throw JJ Redick under the bus?
Oh, no, I know that for a fact. That, of course, LeBron will throw anybody under the bus that he can get his hands on because he's the GM.
Yes, he's the GM. He's the commissioner of the league.
Yes.
He's the peanut vendor open through section 307. I should clarify, though. I'm not saying that to target and project everything and drink the haterade like you are with LeBron, but it's the fact that the NBA is a player-driven league. So if everything falls apart, despite the fact that JJ Redick is just arriving now, who's going to get the blame?
Well,
JJ Redick.
Well, the perception is JJ Redick. I don't know.
And I don't know if you saw the comments Zan made a week or so ago about the Lakers, the thing, what he said about their front office, where it seems like the front office is very protected and it's very, the Laker way, I guess is the way I would put
There
it.
is no Laker way right now. There hasn't been a Laker way since Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, has been on that team. So there has been no Laker way. They've had 4, 5, 6 coaches. I lost track how many coaches they've had in the last.
Actually,
seasons.
that's a point I brought up too in the short video that I made. Think about what happened with their last 2 head coaches.
Darvin
Ham, who made a conference championship.
Frank Vogel.
And Frank Vogel, who they won an NBA championship with. And guess what happened 1 year later for both of those guys? They got fired.
Well, and I think the symmetrical value of that is obviously LeBron obviously being involved in not liking his coaches anymore.
But my point is, if winning an NBA championship, you can debate about it with the Mickey Mouse championship or not, but winning a championship, getting to the ultimate goal of the NBA does not give you any sort of job security, then there is no such thing as job security in the NBA.
Well, let's clarify that. They did sign long-term contracts. They just got fired within them. So they technically did have job security. I mean, we could go to one that we talked about last week with Monty Williams, who, by the way, got fired after the first year of his contract and is walking away with $65 million to boot.
And it's being paid by 2 teams.
Right. So he's getting paid by the Suns and he's getting paid by the Pistons. So he doesn't care. He can sit at home if he wanted to. For all he'll get another job, even if it's an assistant coach. But
I guess my point is that for JJ Redick to be a first-year head coach, and actually, I was reading a CBS Sports piece, Nick, right before that breaking news came out. And somebody, I forget who it was from CBS Sports because it was an article, but they argued that the Pistons actually would have been a better choice for JJ Redick than the Lakers, given that the Pistons are such a young team with low expectations. For a first-year head coach, that's very low pressure. He's basically walking into the fire here in LA.
But that's the same point I made about Dan Hurley, basically saying that there's no expectations. And you kind of laughed me out of the room a little bit on that one, a little bit. But if you don't have NBA coaching experience.
I guess my feeling was that, that's the thing. It's no coaching experience, but at least with Dan Hurley, there is a couple of NCAA championships under your banner. JJ Redick has
nothing, 0,
nothing. It's worse.
He's a podcaster.
Yes.
Well, let me not be that rude. Obviously, he had a 15-year career in the NBA, but
he was a great player. But Nick, what do I always say about a great player? They may not make a great coach.
They don't make a great coach. I mean, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, we mentioned Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was actually a really good coach for young players. Like we saw it in the documentaries, even after the fact, that he knew how to coach. And sometimes when you get a good legend, you do get a good coach, but not always. That's not, I mean, the examples I would use is like the whole Knicks situation when they were going through coaches. Look at Derek Fisher, who took over. He was too busy going after Matt Barnes' ex-wife, but that's a whole different issue.
I was going to say, I'm getting flashbacks now of just a quiet, near empty Knicks arena as they're being blown out, and you hear "Fire Fisher."
Yes, what was that? And then if you remember, Kurt Rambis was a temporary coach.
God.
And what was his name? Herb Williams was the coach for temporary time. So it's the same thing. I mean,
remember when we had the 1 year of Larry Brown and nothing?
That was insane, and he got paid to go away, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The thing we didn't get to on this yet was JJ had his introductory press conference and basically said, fuck everybody, basically on a live TV press conference. So there was no censor. So it went out over the live airwaves because they didn't expect it.
First of all, oops. Second of all, this is why you have an 8-second delay. And third of all, in response to that.
Well, it wasn't radio, it was TV. It was TV.
I know. You really think the Lakers are going to do something under you as a first-year coach?
No. But you're going to have nepotism just because of the LeBron James, JJ Redick relationship. And I don't know how you convince the players otherwise that there is too much of a relationship going on. And if they do the podcast, forget it. That it's going to be completely gone, that whole relationship.
And just imagine if Bronny is in there to add even another wrinkle to it.
I don't know. I heard gambling odds, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Like, they're actually putting gambling odds of whether Bronny will get drafted in the first round. And something tells me someone is going to do something stupid. I just have a feeling.
Well, if you're listening to this show, you probably already know about it. As far as the two of us recording this, Nick, we'll find out tonight.
I something like inside of me feels like someone is going to do something stupid and try to.
Let's just you will know if you. It's going to be obvious that we know at this point because by the time that this show airs, Nick Morgasen has probably already put out a whole 2-minute rant if Ronnie gets drafted in the first round.
It's going to be fireworks if he gets drafted in the first round.
Again, we'll talk in full about Bronny next week, alongside the rest of the draft.
Because the Lakers have the 17th overall pick, I think. So if they draft him 17, that's going to be wild. I'm just telling you now.
Well, they do also have. He's projected to be towards the end of the draft.
55,
and the Lakers do have a 55 pick. So I know the Mavericks have there was a report that the Mavericks were like, hey, if he falls to us, and they had the very last pick 58.
Yeah, because then they'll try to convince LeBron to go to Dallas with Kyrie, and Luka, which I think there wouldn't be enough basketball to go around. The amount of head case and ball control, nothing would ever get done.
I mean, this just didn't. I guarantee you, 1 week, if that happens, 1 week later, this just in: Dallas Mavericks changing their name to Dimsdale Ballhawks.
I'll just tell you right now. If you thought I was going to have fireworks if he gets drafted at 17, if he gets drafted by the Mavs, like there's going to be more fireworks. I'm just telling you.
This just in: Dallas has agreed to a sponsorship with Blubber Nuggets.
Oh, Jesus. All right.
They're chewy.
God. All right.
One more NBA headline. Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey.
Yeah, I mean, I think OKC was just done. And they don't want to deal with all the backlash they were getting from the whole alleged situation that they were dealing with him. And by the way,
Chicago trading Alex Caruso,
who's a really good utility type player.
He's their defensive star, basically.
Right. And the one thing that really, by the way, I saw this video of Josh Giddey that was AI voice made.
Oh, no, I think I know the one that you're talking about.
And Ben Cruz, who hosts our Hitting for the Cycle show and does a lot of football stuff and whatnot, actually Celtics fan, so happy he won the title. He sent me the video, and he said, did you see what Josh Giddey said? He just totally went scorched earth on the Thunder. And I'm like, no. They didn't go scorched earth on the Thunder. That was AI based. And that whoever made that could get sued.
It's scary the direction that AI is happening.
Because they literally made it sound like him talking and that he was basically scorched earth to the OKC Thunder. Like using profanity and everything. It was that bad. Like you can't make this up. It was so ridiculously insane that I don't know what to really say. And AI technology is one of those things where you're like, what? Who's gonna sue me next? And like, what do you do?
I don't. Nick, AI has just, everything it's scary. What's about to happen? Everything is uncertain with a world with AI.
You could make any person sound like they said something incredibly stupid. I don't know. All right. Where are we going?
All right. Quickly, just want to talk about the Stanley Cup final. Hell of a game. Absolutely hell of a game 7. And it was going down to the very last minute. It was going down to the complete wire. You had it was 2-1 entering the third period, and it kind of stayed that way. You were talking about, Nick, the potential of a reverse sweep because it looked like, okay, game 4, okay, Panthers are going to put it away here. Oh, no, okay, gentleman sweep. All right, they go to game 6. We were talking reverse sweep territory. We were talking about something that had been done since 1942. That
And by the
somebody could have won.
And by the way, wasn't there a controversial penalty that gave the Oilers game 6? Also, didn't they change a
A
call?
little bit of a controversial penalty, but you know what? I mean, if you're the Panthers, you know what? All you needed to do, you're telling me you couldn't win 1 game out of 4, but those arguments are now put away because they did manage to win game 7. Hell of a series. I mean, Connor McDavid played his heart out.
Okay, I have a question, though, since you brought his name up. Conn Smythe Trophy, really?
For the most valuable player of the playoffs.
No, I'm saying, like, no, but for the finals, you give him the trophy?
No, Nick, no. That's not a finals exclusive MVP.
Oh.
It's a playoff. Everything.
Did you see, though, how he reacted to getting that trophy, though, after the game?
I mean, look, it's not the cup. It's not the cup.
I don't think he should have gotten it, though.
It's tough because again, it's the MVP of the playoffs, not the MVP of the whole cup. If you're talking about an MVP of the cup, you have a couple of different options, but I think the clear one is Matthew Tkachuk. Yeah,
that's the name I remember. Yeah, like they were saying, like if he wasn't in the series, they probably wouldn't have had any chance whatsoever to win that series. And I know they had to pull the goalie on the Panthers side quite a few times, also because he's giving up a lot of goals. Also, I heard the calls; they were incredible. First Stanley Cup in their franchise history. I don't know, like weird seeing a Florida team winning in hockey.
Well, it's like 5 or 6 years now.
Right. Well, you're talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Tampa Bay Lightning, yeah. I mean, it's still a Florida team.
But I'm just saying, like, it's weird seeing, like, the warm weather teams winning the Stanley Cup. And Canada is still on a drought, by the way.
Still haven't won since the Canadians won in 93.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's funny. It's something else. By the way, shout out Sergei Bobrovsky. I mean, people thought he kind of was a little washed up when he was going down the down run 15-16, and now he's got a cup under him now.
Yeah, I mean, again, incredible series to go from 0-3, make it a series, and then that would have been a travesty if Florida didn't win that.
I know, but still, it was a fun game 7 that kind of went down to the wire. It was 2-1, and yet they had those last 3 minutes are like the longest in hockey.
And then just watching that play where they're up against the boards for the final seconds was kind of interesting too.
Well, that was Florida. I shouldn't say that was Florida's play style, just holding everybody against the boards, but the physical play that ended up helping them win throughout this.
It was a great game. It was the closest game of the whole Stanley Cup.
Yep. All right. Quickly, just going to go up a couple more stories. Again, this one we kind of missed last week. Pat Hoiberg suspended 10 games for violating league gambling rules. It's sad. In the 2020, was it 22 World Series? He had a perfect called game.
Perfect called game, yes.
Yeah, he just didn't miss any sort of call. Now here violating league gambling rules. And Nick, this comes off the heels of, a lifetime ban that was given out. This comes off the heels of the Shohei Ohtani situation. There's just a major concern right now involving the people around baseball and gambling.
Yeah, I mean, well, this goes back to the original argument I made that you're in bed with the gambling companies, DraftKings, FanDuel, MGM. I can go on and on and on. Like, they're all connected to the leagues. And unfortunately, it's very easy to get your hands on a phone for a gambling app and setting up an account and making it. But the league has gotten better with tracking when a player, an athlete, a coach gets an account and they destroy it quickly, except for what's his name in the NBA?
Porter?
Porter, Jonte Porter,
Mhm.
who apparently was gambling on his own health and whether he was going to score 3 points or whatever. But apparently the Umpires Association is apparently getting behind Hoberg, which I don't understand why. That Umpire Association is like strong to the core.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, he claims he didn't do anything, but that's what they all say.
I'm not with that.
This is Tim
All right.
Donaghy all over again.
Well, I mean, it's not happening on the playoff stage.
That's a good point. Okay.
Now that
point taken.
I say that, it's going to happen during this postseason.
Probably.
All right, let's go. Let's end the show with
Yes.
Ryan
I love
Garcia.
this.
So he received the 1-year suspension. His win against Devin Haney is overturned to a no contest, and this guy just goes absolutely. You thought he was bonkers heading into the fight.
I have so many questions. Because I saw some. Because I've seen so much video of him like over the past couple days.
And Nick, I don't know if I can even answer your questions. This guy is just off the wall.
So one was the poker table, and with Jimmy Butler and whoever that big name influencer is. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But Neymar and Jimmy Butler were sitting at that poker table, and he almost chugged the full drink. Which that wasn't a shot. That was like a full drink that he almost chugged. And then he was like eating like some kind of fast food or rice or something on a plate. And then he's dancing around like a fucking idiot, like while at the poker table. What is wrong with this guy?
I have no idea.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I don't even know if that's warranted because I don't know. Because technically he's not fighting right now. Like, I guess he can do whatever he wants, but...
You saw that he retired, and then he said, "Oh, I'm only retiring until my suspension ends."
Retire.
Suspension.
Retire.
By the way, we've talked about this. I talked about it with Zan. I think on the most recent Outsiders, you don't think if Saudi Arabia came calling with their money... Hey, we'll look past it, Ryan. Come on.
Of course he would. Take it in 2 seconds flat. Of course he would. I mean, I even threw the wild theory because he had said it. I think he was completely off his rocker when he tweeted it out. But he's like, oh, UFC? And I was like, wait, what? UFC?
No.
I like, do you want to get your brains beat out?
The last time a boxer tried a UFC fight was James Toney.
Floyd and Connor, I thought. No?
That was in boxing.
Oh, right. That's right.
Talking about a boxer entering the octagon. James Toney, 2010, and Randy Couture just basically wrestled him into a submission.
But I forgot. I think I was talking to Brett about this too. Like I said, like, could Dana, because we all know how Dana's mind thinks. Like, oh, well, I like rodeo clown shows that make a lot of money. Maybe I should go get Ryan Garcia and just make the money.
I mean, Nick, he just said, we don't do gimmick fights. That's why we're
give me a break. Come on. You're serious?
That's why we're promoting Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler until death.
Well, what was the Zan told me speculation that 306 might be Conor and Chandler?
Speculation at this point. It's one of the...
Isn't that the Sphere?
It is the Sphere. They have talked about it, although the UFC doesn't want to do it. At this point, it's like August 31st. It's September 16th, October 7th.
This is wild. This is wild.
How do you think I feel?
So that was one thing. Then I see all the tweets. Like, I know more about this guy than I should because of all the tweets and everything.
Take the phone away from him.
That was going to be my other question. Like, do we think that he's actually tweeting all this stuff? Or
he is. And somebody needs to take the phone away from him. This is Nick. This is like when you give the kid the device and you just let him have it without any sort of limitations, without any sort of oversight. You need to take the device away.
Well, this is going to sound terrible, but Conor McGregor, anybody? He's the same thing.
He's basically gone.
I made this comparison. You're going to think this is wild, but I said I think Conor McGregor and Ryan Garcia are very similar to one another.
They would make excellent cop buddies on a cop buddy show or a cop buddy show.
Yes, but my point is they both do stupid things on social media.
That's why I'm saying that they would make great roles for a cop buddy film.
See, I think it would have been fascinating if, like, Tough Enough, like the Ultimate Fighter was Ryan Garcia and Conor McGregor.
But Ryan Garcia is not an MMA fighter.
No, but I'm saying it would have been fascinating if Dana just said, "I'm just going to break the rules for entertainment purposes only, and I'm just going to do Conor McGregor versus Ryan Garcia and see." The amount of views that would get.
Yeah, I know.
But I don't know. Like, the poker table thing was just very odd. Like, I think he's an attention whore. And sorry, I don't mean to say it that way, but that's
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And
at least my opinion, not wrong.
And you know what? Like, I would be fascinated to sit and do an interview with him. I would. Just,
of course you would.
Because I just want to hear all the random shit that he would just say. I did find out that someone on our staff might have a small connection to Ryan Garcia that may be able to get an interview.
Really?
Yes. I'll tell you after the show's over. But
okay, well, then let's end the show.
Yeah. All right. So that'll do it for episode 239 of Empty the Bench. Follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow the Empty the Bench podcast network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow the YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. YouTube.com/ETB Network. Slowly approaching 800 subscribers. We really need to get to 1,000. That helps this channel grow. That helps monetize this channel. It allows us to do way more things on top of the playback stuff. So please help us to grow. Make sure you go to our website, etbpodcast.com, for all the latest blogs and information. We have a few going out in the next day or two on some NFL arrests. Gee, shocker. So make sure you follow those stories. I heard there might be a story in the works, and we didn't have time to do it in this show, but did you see the Chiefs in the Hallmark movie story or no?
Wait. Can you hear me? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
For some reason, my mic just cut out completely. Yeah, no, I did see it, and I just wanted to face palm. Yeah, I wanted my face palm to go so hard that it went through my face, around the world, and back to my face.
We didn't have time to get to it, but basically, I think it's based off Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. That's just my guess.
No!
So, but apparently, Hallmark, the NFL, and the Chiefs had a deal in place. So I think one of our guys is covering that story too. So make sure etbpodcast.com.
And the movie, and let me guess, the main song of the movie is going to be Love Story, isn't it?
Probably. Who knows? or Style, but whatever. Just don't make it Bad Blood, because I don't think that would be a great representation of a love story. But yeah, etbpodcast.com, all the latest blogs, information. Listen to the Empty the Bench and other Empty the Bench podcast network shows wherever you get your podcasts: Spotify, Apple, iHeart, all podcast platforms, including our newest shows, Game Changers, which is our all women's sports show, which drops on Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Puncher's Chance, which is all our second MMA combat with some gambling involved, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you go check those new shows out, along with everything else that's involved, wherever you get your podcast, and our whole network presented by Playback. Like I said, we have some plans coming up for Playback, so make sure you tune in for that as well. So for Tom Albano, I'm Nick Morgasen. This is episode 239. We will see you next week for episode 240, where we will react to the NBA draft. Where did Bronny get drafted? We will react, and there will be some fireworks. NBA free agency as well. Tune in next week for episode 240. Good night, everybody. We will see you next week.
Bye, everyone.